ஆனால் ஷைத்தான் அல்லாஹ்விடம் சபதமிட்டதைப் போல் அல்லாஹ்வின் மேன்மை படைப்பான மனிதர்களையே மாற்றி அமைத்துக் கொண்டிருக்கிறான்.
We are living in very crucial times, and many of the decisions that we are making today will have profound influence upon our families and the world that we are living in. And Muslims in particular need to have basira, need to have the ability to look at events not only on the surface, but to begin to look through the surface inside of what is actually happening.
இந்த மரபணு மாற்றப்பட்ட GMO உணவுகள் மூலம் நமக்கும் மிருகத்திற்கும் இடையில் இறைவன் உருவாக்கிய தடுப்புச்சுவர் உடைக்கப்படுகிறது. ஒரு மிருகத்திலிருந்து எந்த ஒரு நோயும் நம் மனிதர்களை தாக்காது. அதுதான் இயற்கையின் நியதி. அது நாம் மனிதர்களாக இருக்கும் வரையில்தான். மிருகத்தினுடைய ஜீன் GMO உணவுகள் மூலம் நாம் உண்பதனால் நம் உடம்பில் மரபணு மாற்றம் ஏற்பட்டு மிருகத்திற்கு வரும் நோய்கள் மனிதர்களை எளிதாக தாக்கும் என்பது இங்கு அறிவியல் ரீதியாக நிரூபணமான ஒன்று.
They have shown changes in the liver function, the question of kidney, immunes, in their own studies. So which means that if your immune system becomes vulnerable, that you are vulnerable to, if there's interference with that, you are vulnerable to picking up different infections. We have lot of infection already.
இவ்வாறுதான் கோழிகளிடமிருந்து ஏவியன் ஃப்ளூ, வவ்வாலிடமிருந்து நிஃபா வைரஸ், ஒட்டகத்திலிருந்து மர்ஸ் வைரஸ் போன்ற புது புது வைரஸ்கள் மனிதர்களுக்கு பரவுகிறது. உண்மையில் இவ்வாறு நடப்பது நாம் GMO ஃபுட்ஸை சாப்பிடுவதனால்தான். மிருகத்திலிருந்து நோய்கள் மனிதர்களுக்கு பரவுவதற்கான காரணம் GMO ஃபுட்ஸ் தான் என்ற உண்மையை அறிந்திருந்தும் இவ்வகையான GMO உணவுகளை தடை செய்வதை விட்டுவிட்டு ஏவியன் ஃப்ளூ பரவுகிறதா, கோழிகளை கொன்றுவிடுங்கள். நிஃபா வைரஸா, வௌவாலை முற்றிலுமாக அழித்து விடுங்கள். மர்ஸ் வைரஸ் பரவுகிறதா, சரி ஒட்டகங்களை முற்றிலுமாக இல்லாமல் செய்து விடலாம் போன்ற நயவஞ்சக திட்டத்துடன் செயல்பட்டு கொண்டிருக்கிறார்கள்.
And if you have an ounce of intelligence to think, we have to question what is going on out there, and our silence is complicity. The silent one is complicit in the crime. If you stand by and watch a crime happening, you're part of that crime. You're aiding and abetting that crime if you don't do something about it. The hadith says, "As-sukut alamatu ridha." Silence is the sign of contentment. Silence is the sign of contentment. We should be standing up. The Europeans went out and marched in large numbers to prevent genetically modified food. And yet these things, people aren't even debating these things because we have a educational system that makes us docile, that makes us think. Like the John Taylor Gatto said, it makes people accept orders even if they're stupid. It makes them accept. There's people that, there was an old lady in England, and she was pouring tea. She had her cream there. And as she was pouring it, she said, "You know something very strange about this cream. When I was young, I remember cream going off really fast. But this cream doesn't go off anymore. It'll last 2 weeks." My grandfather said he had an orchard, and he used to tell us if we found a worm in the apple, he said, "I wouldn't eat an apple a worm wouldn't eat." Seriously, think about that, people. I don't want to eat a tomato that doesn't bruise. You go into supermarkets now and you think you're in a science fiction movie. The colors are different. Where are they getting apples like that? I don't remember apples that look like that. I didn't remember strawberries like that. Seriously, you think this is what's happening. You're watching this thing happening before your eyes. We need to wake up and take our lives back.
ஆம், உங்களுடைய வாழ்க்கையை நீங்கள் தான் மீட்டெடுக்க வேண்டும். ஏனெனில் உங்களுக்கு நுணுக்கமான அறிவியல் ரகசியங்கள் தெரியாமல் போனதே அதற்கு காரணம். உதாரணத்திற்கு, நம் முன்னோர்கள் காலத்தில் அதிக தாக்கத்தை ஏற்படுத்தாத கேன்சர் என்கிற கொடிய நோய் ஏன் தற்பொழுது அதிக அளவில் காணப்படுகிறது? அதற்கு காரணம்
Monsanto again comes up again and again. The home of genetically modified food. Why? Because it's to genetically modify us. Genetically modified food affects human DNA. And I'll give you an example of just how detailed this is, because what it comes down to on so many levels is there is a level of knowledge here about how everything works, and then there's a level of knowledge that the public are allowed to have. I'll tell you a story I came across only last week. We have a treatment for cancer called chemotherapy, which is equivalent for most people to assisted suicide. Stone Age medicine. What chemotherapy does, as we are at the cutting edge of knowledge, is kills cells. That's what it does. It kills cells. It doesn't kill cancer cells only, it kills all cells. And the question is, do we kill enough healthy cells to kill the patient before we've killed the cancer cells to rid of the cancer? So what they're doing now is, some people anyway, they're trying to find drugs or a biomarker that will put into cancer cells which will only attract the drug and the healthy cells won't. What it turns out, actually, this guy, Professor Dan Burke, and in Britain, has established, is that cancer cells already have a biomarker, and have always had a biomarker, and he's called it CYP1B1. It is an enzyme that only appears in cancer cells and not healthy cells. What he then did was get with another man, Professor Potter at Leicester University, who came up with a substance found in many fruit and vegetables, which is called salvestrols. That's what they call it. And they found this. The CYP1B1 enzyme, only in cancer cells, interacts with salvestrols that we get from fruit and vegetables and turns it into a cancer-killing agent. So we have had a natural cancer response system. As long as we eat fruit and vegetables in rich numbers with these salvestrols in them, when we get a cancer cell, the CYP1B1 enzyme within the cancer cell, but not in the healthy one, creates a chemical reaction with the salvestrols and kills the cancer cell, and doesn't harm normal cells. You get salvestrols in those fruit and vegetables that are subject to fungal attack, because the salvestrols are what the fruit and vegetables produce to deal with a fungus attack. And the reason salvestrols work against cancer, because we're going to find out, and it's going to be established eventually, cancer is actually a form of fungal attack on the body. Now, this is where I'm going. In the 1950s, they introduced chemical farming. From the 1950s, we have had an epidemic of cancer in the Western world. So what is the effect of this? Because they've been using fungicides on fruit and vegetables, they've been killing the funguses and the fungal attacks artificially, which means the fruit and vegetable plants are no longer producing salvestrols to deal with the fungal attack, because it's being done externally for them. But here's the killer, that they know what they're doing. The most used fungicides used in the world have another effect. They neutralize the effect of CYP1B1, the enzyme in cancer cells. So you can eat all the salvestrols you like, but if your body accumulates the fungicide poisons through eating these foods, it won't matter anyway, because the salvestrol will not be activated as a cancer-killing agent, because the enzyme within the cancer cell has been neutralized. And after 20 years of research of these people, that is absolutely no accident. They know exactly what they're doing. And that's why in America now, this bill is going through to make it virtually impossible for people to produce organic food in America when this bill goes through. Because if you eat organic fruit and vegetables of this type, then they are rich in salvestrols, because they're still producing them to fight off fungal attack, because there's no fungicide getting in the way.
We should be encouraging organic farms. We should be encouraging organic gardens. We should be at the forefront of the urban homesteading movement. These are things that Muslims should be involved in.
சரி, நீங்கள் இந்த காணொளியை பற்றி என்ன நினைக்கிறீர்கள் என்பதை கமெண்ட்ஸில் பதிவு செய்யுங்கள். இன்னொரு காணொளியில் உங்களை சந்திக்கும் வரை நன்றி. அஸ்ஸலாமு அலைக்கும் வரஹ்மத்துல்லாஹி வபரகாத்துஹு.